Let's take today and make it all it can be, and create another memory. Do all we can do, be all we can be, and remember every moment. Let's take today and make it all it can be, and create another memory. Live all we can live, be all we can be, and we'll never miss a moment. Checking 1, 2, 3. Check. It's fine.
Let's take today.
Time waits for no one, it just keeps on marching on. Tomorrow is here now, and yesterday is gone. Future's upon us, we can watch as it arrives. This is there we go. That's
What time's church in the morning?
10.
10.
When anxious worry finds me, your precious word reminds me worry.
That's good. Check 1, 2. Just let me do a song play a song that I can check my
Okay,
vocal against. But you're not going to play on this guitar, so you might want to switch it up as well.
I'm moving the bass back a little bit. Okay.
So, you can do either hold on. Let's try hold on.
So I'm 5.
5. Okay. 5? Yeah, I think so.
So this is really
Tinny. Need some low.
maybe I'll play everything on the old school.
Everything? Okay. But it's tuned to step down, so you can't do it.
Well,
This guitar sounds good. It just sounds a little too. Can you give it some low from there? Didn't really change much.
it's this neck.
Okay.
This neck is really bad.
That's okay. Doing a little check. but they ended up so tragic. I think it's balanced.
All right, so this is nice and light. We'll hear our guitar. How long do you need us to go to 5?
Yeah, everyone, I want to introduce Raphael and Ellie. If you don't know who they are, they really do a wonderful job ministering in music in this whole area. Amen. Worship leaders. I had the pleasure of meeting Colin Campbell and friends with Michael W., who Raphael started the church in Franklin, Tennessee with Michael. And I used to hear about Raphael when he wasn't there. And he'd go, yeah, we started church with Raphael and Giglio. I go, where is the brother? They go, on the East Coast. Never knowing we would meet them last year here. Amen. And they're wonderful songwriters, and they want to share about that today. So let's give a nice hand to Raphael.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us. So I'm just assuming everyone's a songwriter here, right? Christian music songwriters, or is it songwriters and performers? Okay, it's performers and appreciators. Is there music appreciator?
Oh yeah.
And that's all we need. We need many more of those than the other. Well, we just want to share some of the songs we wrote, and then just some kind of things about songwriting, if that's okay. I mean, I believe that there's a lot of changes going on in the industries of Christian music and popular music and songwriting. So just bear with us if we talk from like a esoteric angle, sort of professional angle. Had the opportunity to spend some time in Nashville, 12 years in the music industry, also Christian music ministry, and I just think there's things we all should know. So
yeah, totally.
But one of them is this: is that when I got to Nashville, I was, I had written tons of songs. I had some success. I had a record deal, and things as they do, they always run their course. And I found myself living in Nashville, Tennessee, no radio, no songs on the radio, nothing on the charts, not much going on with a record contract. Just sitting on my back porch wondering what I should do next. And I figured, well, everybody here is writing country music, so I'm just going to figure out how to write a country song. And so I decided I'm going to write a country song. Even though I'm from New Jersey, I'll figure it out. And I'm told that you just need a story, you need a character, you need some feelings, some emotion. You don't need to make it too complicated, though. And so I'm thinking about all the country songs I've ever heard. I didn't know many. I didn't have much of a repertoire. And I just remember, Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard, I hear a train a-coming. And I'm thinking, I'll write a song about a train. Because as I was sitting on the porch, way out in the distance, I heard a train go by. A train. And I thought about what it was like when I was a kid, when the train went by, and how, it was not the trains of eastern Tennessee going through the hillside. It was a train, metro liner going from New Brunswick to New York City with commuters. But I remember as kids, we would go down to the train yard and the train tracks, and we would do something kind of dangerous. We would take our coins and our paper clips and whatever we had, and we'd lay them on the top of the rail. You know what I'm talking about, right? And the train goes by and everything turns into a metal guitar pick, right? Come back, you collect all your prizes because everything's flattened. You got to do it sometime, Well, I thought maybe out there in the hills of Tennessee, there's a boy just like me who decided he'd go and flatten things on the railroad track. And so I wrote a story and a song. And then technically, I really wanted to make this a song with couplets, exact rhyming couplets, meaning I'm not using near rhymes, and as much as possible using exact rhymes, using phrasing properly on the beats, things like that. I really wanted to take all the technical stuff I learned about songwriting and try to apply it to this song. And so this is called Jamie. Let's start right here. It's supposed to go like this. That's it. Here we go. Jamie was a 10-year-old with big blue eyes and hair of gold. He lived along the railroad tracks and he played beneath the bridge. He never cared for balls and bikes or fishing poles and Boy Scout hikes, just skipping stones and listening for the train along the ridge. You could feel the rumble way before you hear the whistle blow. You could hear the whistle blow before you see the train. You could count the boxcars as the steel wheels race along the rails, and when it's gone, the diesel fumes are all that will remain. Jamie had a wooden box he hid among the river rocks, and in it he kept all his flattened treasures as his prize. Pennies that were paper thin, nickels and dimes and safety pins, and many parts and pieces you could barely recognize. You could feel the rumble way before you hear the whistle blow. You can hear the whistle blow before you see the train. You can count the boxcars as the steel wheels race along the rails, and when it's gone, the diesel fumes are all that will remain. Whoa, 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 The first day the CSX came past, it was twice as big and twice as fast. It barely made a rumble and it hardly made a sound. And even to this day I'm told they never found the 10-year-old. A shattered box of flattened metal things was all they found. But they say, somewhere out there, Jamie said, you can feel the rumble way before you hear the whistle blow. You can hear the whistle blow before you see the train. You can count the boxcars as the steel wheels race along the rails, and when it's gone, the diesel fumes are all that will remain. And I'll ask you now, can you feel the rumble way before you hear the whistle blow? And can you hear the whistle blow before you ever see the train? Can you count the boxcars as the steel wheels race along the rails, and when it's gone, the diesel fumes are all that will remain. Whoa, whoa, whoa. But, you know, what happened to the kid? But that's how songs go. It's a warning. It's a warning song.
A great opener.
Yeah. Now that you're completely depressed. So I do want to just share some of the things that we are experienced, you know, I know we all have different experiences in songwriting, but the gamut of styles that we've been privileged to do. Now that was a country song. It was on hold with Waylon Jennings later in his career, but never got cut. And then you'll find that a lot in Nashville. They put your song on hold, and then you can't touch it. And somebody either cuts it or they don't, and then you get it back if they don't. I had a few of those. It's okay. I still get to sing it anytime I want.
Right.
But it was his brother who really loved the song. He heard me play it at a bar in the Country Music Hall of Fame where I was living at the time. Anyway, that's a story for another day. So what we've done and what I've been able to do is I was initially signed to a Christian label, Myrrh Records, back when, you know, Amy Grant was our biggest artist. Phil Keaggy was my closest friend on the label. Did a lot of touring with him and actually lived next door to him and played a lot and wrote a lot with him. And then, you know, as went on, there was a whole Americana music movement going on, so I kind of dove into that. And that's songs that are kind of this style, but like that one I just played was not specifically a Christian song. You didn't hear any Bible verses, you didn't hear, you know, songs about Jesus and words about worship like many of my other songs. But It had a message. I felt it was strong enough. I had an album of music strong enough called Blue Skies in the Rain. I put that out probably about 20 years now, can you believe it? And I was able to tour off of that record. So I was able to tour coast to coast and then Europe. Just by myself. Allie wasn't with me at the time, so that makes it cheap and doable. Hey, Linda. You know, as a married couple, George and Pam, you know, that's how it goes, right? But anyway, what I've always been able to do is take what's brewing in my heart about the Word of God and write songs about it and see where it falls. And instead of what I tried to do there is figure out what's going on in the industry and write towards that target. And what Allie and I have been involved with the last 8 to 10 years is messianic worship. Now you want to talk about a micro genre. There's a movement in Christian music that is called messianic music. And it's really songs that are written from a Hebraic view of Scripture, like a Hebrew roots view of Scripture. And so they're used likely in applications where a Christian church might be celebrating Passover or Hanukkah or something to kind of, connect to Israel or the Jewish roots. Usually have some Hebrew in the song, so you kind of tie it to that. We are regularly involved in this kind of worship. In fact, this morning we did, many Saturday mornings we did worship for a Messianic congregation in Manhattan, and we do it in Brooklyn as well. Right now it's all on Zoom, so we don't have to go into the city. But we've done conferences all over the world, and people like Paul Wilbur, Marty Goetz, other people do these types, And so what we realize is that there's a lot of old Messianic music, not a lot of new Messianic music. So we set out as a collaboration to write new Messianic music that's used for that kind of application. Allie came up with a really cool part of a song, right?
The outline skeleton of the song. And it was like a Friday night, and we were playing the next day for Brooklyn, and we wanted just a different song because we felt like we were playing the same old songs, So I said, well, I have this song, but I don't have any Hebrew in it. And he said, oh, I could totally fit something in there. We stayed up and we wrote the rest of it, and we presented it the next morning for Shabbat, for a service for Brooklyn.
I'm a Jewish believer. I came to faith through my Jewish grandfather who was a believer. So the Hebrew comes very natural to me because just hearing prayers and all through my early childhood. And there's one that's spoken every Shabbat, every Sabbath, and that's the Kadashah, which is Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, which means holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Every Shabbat service in every synagogue everywhere in the world, at some point will quote that from Isaiah 6, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot.
So that's our song.
We'll teach you the intro. Whoa! Can you sing that with us? Whoa! Now I need Hebrew. Whoa! You got it. Whoa!
Spirit of the living God, breathe on us. Make your presence powerful and glorious.
Worship who you are. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. God, shine on us, illuminate the darkness with your holiness. We dedicate to you all we are. Let our lives be set apart to worship who you are. Isaiah 6. That line is followed with this in English. The whole earth is filled with your glory. 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 Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tsevaot. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. Kadosh, 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 Kadosh. So I know that's kind of different, that kind of song, but you know, I just encourage you, as you have a genre, write to it. You know, some of you may have European roots or speak another language. I'm serious. There's not enough ethnic songs, I believe, going on. I know someone who has Ukrainian heritage in Brooklyn, and she's writing toward that now because there's an opening up of parts in Ukraine. So encourage that. How many of you are co-writers or collaborators? You write with other people. How many of you just write by yourself? All right, you know, I know. I'm like, what's your name, brother?
Paris.
Paris?
Everybody calls me Tig, though.
Tig, okay.
Make it easy on yourself.
All right. You know, so to me, most of my songwriting growing up, and I started when I was 10, most of the things I've had that have done well have been my own creation. And I found it really difficult to collaborate. And I realized when I moved to Nashville, you got to collaborate. You got to be a co-writer. It's the name of the game, or else you're isolated, and the doors of opportunity are not open to you. And so I had to kind of force myself, because to me, co-writing a song, I was telling Ali like this, it's like standing before a canvas as a painter, and you have your palette, and you have your brush, and you start painting, and someone comes along next to you, and they're painting too, and then you have an idea to paint like a barn, but then, you know, they are painting some type of ocean wave, and it's like, you know, two paintbrushes, and it was always so awkward, and I had to really learn to do that, and I've been able to write with some really good people that have helped me do that. Recently, I just wrote a couple songs with Aaron Shoes. Do you know who Aaron Shoes is? Yeah. Tremendous songwriter. He was, you know, GMA Songwriter of the Year a few years back. Lots of nice big hits, and wonderful guy, really fantastic writer. And so we're both from the same denomination, Christian Missionary Alliance. And so they flew us out to Colorado to put us in a cabin with a few other songwriters and said, write songs for our denomination. The CD's coming out. And so Aaron and I are in a room together. We don't really know each other that well, but we hit it off quickly. And he has a way of writing where it has to be together, and you have to really go through every syllable of every word and until it's right. And he'll take as long as it is. So that was difficult for me as we were writing songs. So we wrote a song that's on this released on the CD last year. Here am I. Here I am sending, based on Isaiah 6 of all things. I just read that. And so, you know, it's starting out with, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. Just that line, opening line. From, you know, it's what First Samuel, that's what Samuel said to, you know, Eli told Samuel, you know, if the Lord calls you again, say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. And he is so meticulous. He's like, I just don't know, because listening is a 3-syllable word, and we're using it for 2 syllables. I don't know, you know. So that kind of thing carried through the whole. So we have songs on hold. On the back burner. That I'm like, Aaron, we have a great song there. He goes, yeah, it's like 90% done. Just need to work it through. And I have these wonderful song ideas that are just on ice right now. It's a little frustrating, but that's the way he does it. Other people I've written with. Do you know who Rick Elias is?
Yeah.
Know that? Okay. So Rick and I wrote a bunch of songs together because I was signed to a messianic label. He was hired as the producer. And the way he writes is very unique because he writes the whole track, like all the parts of an instrumental basically, and sends it to me. He must have sent me about 4 or 5 songs and say, you come up with the lyrics, the melody. I'm not kidding. The title. I get this instrumental track of really cool music. I have no idea where the melody is, or he said, I have got to come up with that. So the songs I wrote with him were all that way. And that's one way to do it too. With Allie, I mentioned before, she'll put a part together, I'll add a part. And because we live together, it's easier because we can, I never really wrote with Michael W. Smith. We spent a lot of time in worship together, but we would come up with these wonderful in worship spirit songs, new songs like you're doing an hour worship set where it's flowing, and you come up with these ideas. I came up with this one idea for and we would just be in prayer, and I'd be playing this, and then so we planted a church together, so we had a Wednesday afternoon prayer meeting every week, and one day we decided to take communion. And I'm playing my melody. And I said, how about this? And it ended up becoming a song, a pretty successful communion song for me. Take my body, which is broken unto you. Broken bread and poured out wine. Take this bread and eat it every time you do. Do in remembrance of me. In remembrance of me. Do in remembrance of me. And so that was how it started. But I was serious. I played that melody, those chords for probably a year before lyrics came. And so sometimes that happens too, where you have something, just keep it going. And then with Phil Keaggy, writing with him was different too, because he is he's not real tight like Aaron is. He's not too meticulous. He's very loose about it. Yeah. But he likes to color the song in his way. And so I wrote a song called Healing, and I liked the song. But there's just a lot about it I didn't like. It didn't really flow very well. It's on the Olsen. Might as well. So I wrote this song with Phil. All right. So. Am I boring you guys with too much?
No.
Did you record the communion too?
Yeah, that was recorded. The communion song was recorded, and it was a worship leader magazine Song of the Month one time. So
Beautiful.
Raphael was able to get in on CCLI. Do you guys know what CCLI is? So he got in.
Who's CCLI writers? You have right? Yeah. So when we first started with them, well, you finish it.
Yeah. So he actually they contacted you and said, hey, you want to get your songs on here? And so he was like, yeah, sure. That was in the early days. So he's been on for a long time. But this song, because it's called the Communion Songs. The song, a lot of people will search it and they'll use it. They'll find the music. It's not, a lot of times CCLI will have the chord sheet and the track, but it's not at that level. But it has enough where you can find it, and it gets used a lot, which is really nice.
Theme song, songs that have a specific theme. I'm telling you, they get a lot of traction. Okay, so where's the keyboard? Oh, here it is. Yeah, I could put this on my nose and still be looking around. So anyway, so I wrote this song, and then I wrote it over to Phil. He's like, yeah, I got some ideas for it. Hope you don't mind if I change it too much,
That's Phil.
lived 250,000 hours, and I have seen 10,000 days. You're probably trying to figure that out. 250,000 hours, I did. Yeah, I think I was in my late 20s or early 30s or something. I've lived 250,000 hours, and I have seen 10,000 days. If you look through me, you can see my scars in my heart and in my face. Some things I do are just reactions to things done to me long ago. And though I found a way to live my life, I'm oftentimes reminded that I know that I need healing. I need healing. We all need healing from the things we left behind, and when the bitterness inside us melts away somehow, we'll never have to think about it now. We'll never have to think about it now. My mind is full of names and faces of people whom I tend to blame. I may feel justified to be this way, but I know it's unforgiveness just the same. And now I just want to go on from here. I want to live a life that's free. If God can heal someone who's blind or lame, I'm sure that He can do the same for me, yeah. But I need healing, I need healing. We all need healing from the things we left behind, and when the bitterness inside us melts away somehow, we'll never have to think about it now. We'll never have to think about it now. When Phil plays this song, he's got the jam man going, and I just do this. I go right to the next chord. I need healing, I need healing. We all need healing from the things we left behind, and when the bitterness inside us melts away somehow, we'll never have to think about it now. 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 All right. If that's kicked up some, bitterness and unforgiveness, and you need counseling, Dave is setting up a room in the back, and he'll be counseling you. Just kidding, Dave. I don't want to put you in a spot. All right. Okay, so where are we? So, part of when I was in Nashville, after I did my career, can you guys hear the guitar okay?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Nice.
I'm finding myself looking for odd jobs because I can't support myself. I'm living in a one-room studio apartment, and I ended up working in the mailroom of Arista Records, and somebody said, you ought to get computer certified. You ought to get Microsoft certified. It was during a time where, computer networks and email and internet were just sweeping the country, and Nashville was late in the game. And so my friend gave me some really good advice for a summer, about 6 weeks, learn how to do computer networking and establish internet protocol and email. And I learned it. So now I'm no longer working in the mailroom of Arista. I'm the manager of information technology at Capitol Records, which is, I got this great job, office job at Capitol Records. And, it was fun. I got a chance to work very closely with Garth Brooks during his big years, the big sell years. Keith Urban, Trace Atkins, Dina Carter, a few others. And I did get to know these guys pretty well. And I got to know the industry pretty well. And it was at the time where CD sales was what was driving the music industry. I'm telling you, at Capitol Nashville, we sold 32 million CDs in 2000, I think it was. That no label is selling that anymore. It's a fraction because of digital sales. But you learn a lot about intellectual property, mechanical royalties, performance royalties and things like that, and how it's really changed in the music industry now to where you're doing sync royalties for video, things like that. Anyway, that's the business side. But I released my CD during that time. I recorded it as an independent project. It really started out as a small label. They went under when the CD was halfway done. I needed like $2,000 to just finish it, get it mixed and mastered, and then I could release it, and their label went out of business. It was called Myrrh Records in Nashville. And so one day, Garth Brooks comes in and we're about this many people in the lunchroom. He goes, guys, we had a really good month. I just have a gift for y'all, and want you to use it for something special now. Don't go paying groceries and water bill. And he gives us each an envelope. I open up $2,000. So I got to finish my record. But, and he was very gracious. I thanked him on the record. And Trace Atkins really enjoyed it. Keith Urban came to me and goes, hey, Raphael, I like the record, but my favorite song on that is a song called Worry. I love the song Worry that you wrote. And so I guess I'll play you with the song Worry. Keith liked a lot. What I worry most about this song, this is a song about worrying. What I worry most about this song is hitting the F sharp.
Yeah.
I'll help you.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool.
Last night I couldn't sleep. I lied awake and tried to keep from worrying about the days and weeks ahead. And as I tossed and turned all night, I closed my eyes and tried to fight the desperate, nervous feeling in my head. But your hand is strong, your words are true, and I just gotta trust them. It's all I've got to do. When anxious worry finds me, your precious word reminds me, worry won't have a single day. At times I'm unfulfilled and forced to live by faith, and still I wouldn't have it any other way. But your hand is strong, words are true, and I believe in you. When I face anxiety and doubtful spirits lie to me, they say I can't believe what I can't see. Put away the fear and doubt and quit trying to figure out the desperate feelings of my own self-sufficiency. But your hand is strong, your words are true, and I just gotta trust them. That's all I've got to do. When anxious worry finds me, your precious word reminds me, worry won't have a single day. At times I'm unfulfilled and forced to live by faith, and still I wouldn't have it any other way. 'Cause I know that there's a plan that you have for me, and it's only plans for good and not for calamity. Give to me a future and a hope. When anxious worry finds me, your precious word reminds me, worry won't have a single day. At times I'm unfulfilled and forced to live by faith, but still I wouldn't have it any other way. 'Cause your hand is strong, your words are true, and I believe in you. What's good? So I want to turn it over to Allie. I want you to talk about your experience as a young writer and songwriting.
gosh, okay.
Songwriters.
Well, okay. Well, I started writing songs probably at the age of, well, I guess I wrote a couple songs when I was a kid, but I started playing.
When you're a kid, you make up songs.
Yeah, I was making up songs when I was a kid, but I started seriously writing songs. I think I was probably about 33, and I had just learned how to play the guitar, so it's never too late. You can learn when you're older. And I just was starting to write about things that I felt like really prayers. A lot of my journaling was turning into writing. But I do want to just talk about this song that we're going to do is a song that I wrote about, maybe about 4 years ago, I'm guessing, maybe a little longer. I hadn't written in a really long time. I had my daughters, twin daughters, and I was being a mom and raising them, and I just kind of put the guitar away and I put the songwriting away. And they went off to kindergarten, and so I had a little time on my hands that fall. And I remember sitting down with my journal and my guitar, and I'm like, and I just prayed, and I said, Lord, if you have any songs, that would be great. If you have any you want to give me. So that started my journey with like writing this batch of songs that I ended up becoming a record that I released a couple of years ago.
Yep.
So I started writing then, and then there came a point in our church where I needed to step up and lead worship and play my guitar, so I had to really get going on that. And then I needed songs because again, we're doing the same old songs. And so I would sit down again and be like, Lord, do you have any songs that, and I guess my prayer, I think during that time I would close my eyes and just picture the people and I would pray and I'd say, Lord, what do you want these people to say to you? What do you want them to sing to you? What do you want to hear from your children? And I was getting download after download, so I ended up with like 10 worship songs. So this is one of them that I want to sing to you. It's called Able God.
You know what's interesting about her songs is that she's really got a really pop catchy thing going on where I'm sort of folksy. She just can put her finger on the pulse of pop music and catchy hooks. And so her songs are, she has more songs on the radio right now than I do. Mostly internet radio, but it's very frequent. And then also theme songs for radio shows. So like, church shows, our church, another church. This song gets played twice, right? This one? Yeah, twice a weekend, because we're on the radio, 5 stations every weekend. There's a theme song.
That's awesome.
So it's cool to be able to use your songs in other applications.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyway.
It's called Able God.
Our last song. I'm sorry we went over time. Oh, I'm sorry.
We wasn't paying no attention. You could have kept going and no one would have said a thing.
Yeah, we love it. You guys are awesome.
What's the thing? No, I need the melody. Oh, that's right. Allie's got more of a memory than I do.
I should really be playing the guitar, but he plays so much better than me. There you got it, okay. Oceans rising, I want some under the waves.
Talk about meticulous. This girl knows. She's like, it sounds like it's her. She knows a half step. She has a feel for these things. I was a half step too high. We got her bed,
That's better. Okay, now I can hit the chorus. Oceans rising, I won't slip under the waves. Your hand reaching, you are mighty to save.
inviting us out. So glad that to be here in Ocean Grove with you. Welcome you to Ocean Grove. Thanks, Linda, for opening this up. You know, we're Ocean Grove regulars. We have a tent out there in the tent community, and
cool.
we serve here all summer. But thank you for having us today.
Praise the
Listen.
Lord. Thank you for being here.